The pressure in life sometimes becomes an invisible burden, making us feel exhausted and lost. The hurried thoughts and endless worries make our minds chaotic, unable to find peace. Every day, we face demands, expectations, and pressures from all sides, sometimes even from ourselves. It seems that the more we race against time, the more tired we feel and the more we want to stop, yet we cannot. But amidst these difficulties, there is a teaching of Buddha that we can apply in our most stressful moments. Buddha taught, "Let go of your worries, for they are the burdens that tire your soul." This teaching is gentle yet profound, like a cool breeze soothing our spirit when we feel exhausted. We often seek peace outside, hoping for changes in the world around us. But Buddha pointed out that true peace comes from within the soul. Peace is not a place. It is the feeling we experience when we learn to be still amidst the storms of life. When we no longer cling to fears about the future or regrets about the past. When we learn to live fully in the present moment, that is when peace will reign within. Try listening to the gentle voice from your heart as you relax your body and let go of the tension inside. That is the moment when Buddha's teaching truly becomes meaningful, that bringing us serenity without needing to search far. Thank you for listening to the messages on the channel Letting Go, Finding Peace. I hope each story, each message here will be a cool breeze for your soul. Pressure and exhaustion in modern life are inevitable. In this busy world, every passing day feels like an endless race. We face work, relationships, expectations, and sometimes invisible pressures from ourselves. When exhaustion accumulates, we may feel like we are carrying an invisible burden that cannot be shared or undone. In those moments, we long to stop, find a place to rest, and reclaim the peace in our hearts. It is in those moments that Buddha's teachings serve as a guiding light. Buddha showed us how to find peace, even amidst the chaos of life. One of his teachings is very familiar and easy to understand. Peace is not something far away, but it is a state of mind when we learn to let go. Letting go here does not mean giving up everything, but rather learning not to cling to worries, to things that cannot be changed, and allowing the soul to be free. When we feel tired and the pressures of life seem to prevent us from going on, that is when we need to look inside ourselves. In the whirlwind of work and life, we sometimes forget that all these worries and stresses are just thoughts in the mind, not reality. Buddha taught that when we do not accept what we cannot change, when we refuse to let go of negative emotions, they are the very causes of the fatigue in our souls. What is important is to realize that when we stop and observe our minds, we will see that worries and fears are not things we cannot escape from. They are just the ghosts of the past, the worries about the future that we create ourselves. Buddha taught, we cannot change the past, but we can live fully in the present. It is living fully in the present moment that helps us escape the fatigue of the mind. When we no longer cling to the past, when we no longer worry about the future, when we live entirely in the present, that is when we will find true peace. Peace is not a destination, but a journey. It is the process of learning to quiet the mind, learning to let go of negative emotions, and reconnecting with oneself. Buddha taught that in order to have peace in the soul, we must learn to face suffering and accept it. When we accept that life has suffering, has difficulties, we will no longer fear challenges. And when we face suffering calmly, not letting it control us, we will find that we are no longer trapped in negative thoughts. Fatigue does not only come from work or life's difficulties, but also from tension in the mind. When we worry too much about uncertainties, when we cannot let go of negative thoughts and emotions, they will drain us. That is why Buddha taught, letting go is not giving up, but understanding that there are things we cannot change and we need to accept them. Once we learn to let go, we will find that our souls become lighter. The feeling of exhaustion will gradually fade away, and we will be able to feel the peace present within ourselves. Not everything in life is perfect, but peace comes from how we face those imperfections. When we learn to love ourselves and accept things that are not yet perfect, we will feel freer and lighter. Buddha's teachings about letting go are not only reminders about forgiveness, but also about acceptance. Accepting ourselves, accepting difficulties, and accepting that not everything goes according to plan. When we no longer suppress our emotions, when we no longer expect too much from life, we will find that every moment has its own value. It is in those moments that peace will come on its own. Always remember that peace is not far away. It is within us. When we learn to live fully in the present, when we know how to let go of worries, we will find the strength to continue on our path, no matter how many difficulties and challenges lie ahead. Each day, remember to take some time to stop, listen to yourself, and breathe deeply. This is how you can find peace within yourself. Pressure in modern life can come from many different sources: work, relationships, societal expectations, or sometimes from ourselves. Every day, we face a series of demands, from completing work, taking care of family, to seeking recognition from others. When these burdens accumulate, it is easy to fall into a state of stress and exhaustion, and gradually, the feeling of being drained appears without us realizing it. These worries prevent our souls from finding peace, making our hearts feel as if they are carrying a heavy stone, unable to move lightly through life. The story of a woman named Lan may help us better understand the impact of pressure in life. Lan is a single mother, and every day she faces a series of tasks, from working to caring for her children, from worrying about finances to maintaining relationships. She always feels like she doesn't have the strength to complete everything, and day by day, the exhaustion grows in her heart. Every morning when she wakes up, she feels as though she is carrying an invisible burden that cannot be set down. She cannot share this with anyone, and so the feeling of exhaustion spreads, not only in her body, but also in her soul. Lan always wonders why she can't feel peace even though she has done everything she could. Then one day, while sitting quietly alone, she suddenly remembered a teaching of Buddha that she had heard a long time ago. Pressure is not what makes you exhausted, but the way you react to it. This teaching of Buddha was like a flicker of light in the darkness, helping her realize that it was the tension within her that was causing her exhaustion, not the work or the challenges. She realized that sometimes we don't need to force ourselves to face everything. We just need to learn to let go of negative thoughts, not let pressure control our minds, and let everything flow more gently. This is the lesson that Buddha wants us to remember. Peace is not something distant, but when you learn to relax your soul, accept all challenges gently, and not cling to what cannot be changed. Life is not always perfect, and we cannot control everything. But what matters is that we can choose how to respond to it. If we always live in worry, fear, and stress, we will be forever caught in that cycle, and ultimately, we will never find peace. Lan's story is also a reminder that sometimes exhaustion does not come from work or life's demands, but from how we face them. When we cling to negative thoughts, worry about things that have not happened, or feel powerless in the face of challenges, that is when we create pressure for ourselves. In reality, many times in life, we have to face things we cannot change, but instead of clinging to them and trying to control them, we can learn to accept and relax, finding peace in every moment. Buddha teaches that when we know how to let go, when we learn to live in the present, we will find that pressure no longer has the power to exhaust us. We can still continue with our work, still face difficulties, but without being controlled by them, without letting them tire our souls. Just like water flowing gently over stones, when we let everything pass without trying to hold on or resist, peace will naturally come. We don't need to be perfect in the eyes of society. We don't need to meet all the expectations or demands of life. Sometimes, the only thing we need to do is learn to love ourselves, accept that life has difficulties, has challenges, but we always have the right to choose how to respond to them. This is the wisdom that Buddha has taught us, that peace starts from within, from how we perceive and face every difficulty in life. Let Buddha's teachings remind us that life can be tiring, but only when we know how to let go and live in the present will we truly find peace. It is the lightness of the soul that helps us overcome all challenges, and only then will pressure no longer have the power to exhaust us. Pressure is an inevitable part of each of our lives, but few can face it without feeling exhausted. Sometimes it comes from work, sometimes from complicated relationships, or sometimes from the expectations we place on ourselves. In every circumstance, pressure always exists as a challenge to test each person's endurance and ability to overcome it. However, in these moments, Buddha's teaching on facing pressure becomes a key that helps us open the door to peace and find tranquility within. Buddha teaches that pressure is not the enemy, but an opportunity for us to grow. It is in the most stressful moments that we can see ourselves more clearly, discovering limits and abilities we never thought we had. When facing difficulty, we have two choices. One is to let ourselves sink into anxiety and stress, and the other is to choose to let go of negative thoughts, learn to live gently, and accept what cannot be changed. Buddha advises, accept what you cannot change and learn to change what you can. This teaching is simple but incredibly profound. In each of us, there are sometimes things beyond our control that we constantly worry and fear about. Concerns about the future, failures in the past, things that didn't go as planned. These are all factors that make our minds heavy. But instead of continuing to cling to negative thoughts, Buddha teaches us to stop, breathe deeply, and accept everything as it is. When we stop judging and stop worrying, we will find that our hearts become much lighter. Imagine yourself as a boat in the ocean, occasionally facing storms. But if you know how to steer and don't panic, the boat will pass through the rough seas and head toward the shore of peace. Pressure in life is like the storm. Sometimes it makes us waver, but if we know how to control our minds, live fully in the present, and not let pressure dominate us, we will overcome everything. A small story can illustrate this teaching. Once a man came to seek Buddha's advice. He said, "Master, I feel my life is so heavy, full of pressure. I can't seem to make anything better. Can you help me?" Buddha smiled and told him, "Go to the riverbank, take a small bowl and fill it with water. Then go to the foot of the mountain and find me the heaviest stone." The man did as Buddha instructed, but when he brought the stone back, Buddha said, "Now pour all the water out of the bowl and bring it back." The man was puzzled and asked, "How can I do that when the stone is in the bowl?" Buddha gently smiled and said, "Pressure is like the stone in the water bowl. When you accept and let go of all worries, your soul will become peaceful like the water in the bowl. But if you keep holding on to your worries, you will never find peace." From this story, we can see that pressure is not a bad thing, but how we face it determines everything. If we let it dominate our minds, it will exhaust us. But if we learn to accept it, see it as part of life, and let it pass, we will realize that nothing is impossible to overcome. Buddha's teachings continue. Each person can only change their own life, and what's important is never letting things beyond our control affect our soul. That is why in moments of feeling most pressured, we need to remember that peace doesn't come from the outside, but from within our hearts. If we maintain stillness within, not letting the waves push us off course, we will always find peace, no matter how life unfolds. To truly face pressure, Buddha teaches us to practice mindfulness. Mindfulness is not just focusing on what's happening in the present, but also observing our emotions and thoughts without judgment. When you can do this, pressure will no longer dominate you. You will realize that worries and fears are just fleeting things, not permanent. And when you stop clinging to those negative emotions, you will find serenity, peace within yourself. A small example can help us better understand mindfulness. Imagine sitting in a dark room, but as soon as you open the door, the light shines in and dispels the darkness. Pressure and anxiety are like the darkness in that room. As soon as you open the door of your soul, welcome peace and mindfulness, the darkness will be gone. Buddha's teaching about facing pressure not only helps us reduce stress, but also helps us grow spiritually. When we learn to let go, when we learn not to cling to things beyond our control, we will find that life, no matter how difficult, can still flow gently. And when we live gently like that, pressure will no longer be a challenge, but a part of life that we can face calmly and peacefully. In life, anxiety is something that anyone will have to go through. Worries about the future, about work, about family, about things that have not happened, sometimes prevent us from finding peace within. There are nights when, lost in endless thoughts, you feel like you're carrying a mountain of worries on your shoulders, and this feeling seems to never stop. But in moments like this, Buddha's teaching on letting go of worries and finding peace is the key to unlocking the door to a peaceful soul. Buddha teaches that we cannot control everything in life, but we can control how we react to them. The anxieties we feel are sometimes just exaggerated reactions from our minds, because in reality, very few of the things we worry about actually happen. But instead of letting ourselves drown in these thoughts, we can learn to let go and not cling to what cannot be changed. This teaching of Buddha is truly gentle and profound because it reminds us that peace does not come from controlling everything, but from accepting that not everything is within our control. To make it easier to understand, let's listen to the story of a man named Min. Min is a responsible person, always completing his tasks thoroughly, but he is constantly plagued by worries about things that haven't happened yet. Every morning, he worries about the upcoming work, meetings, and important decisions he must make. These worries gradually became an inseparable part of Min's life, preventing him from feeling at peace, even though he had everything he needed. One day, Min met an old friend, Duk, someone he knew had gone through many challenges in life, but still maintained calm and peace in his soul. Min asked Duk, "How can you live so calmly? I'm always worried about everything, never feeling at peace." Duk smiled and said, "I used to be like you, but then I realized that worries don't change anything. Only when we let go of those thoughts, when we don't allow our souls to be disturbed by them, will peace truly come." Duk continued, "Buddha teaches that we can only change ourselves, and the world around us cannot change because of our thoughts. When we accept everything as it is, peace will come." Duk's words were like a refreshing breeze blowing into Min's heart, making him realize that his worries were truly unnecessary. He began trying to let go of negative thoughts, stop worrying about things beyond his control. As Min learned to live fully in the present, not clinging to things that hadn't yet come, he felt his soul becoming lighter. He realized that each moment in life is an opportunity to find peace, if only we relax and don't let our minds be consumed by unnecessary thoughts. Min's story is also the story of many of us. Sometimes we create our own worries in our minds, worrying about things that haven't happened, about situations we can't predict. But if we don't let go, these worries will take over our minds, preventing us from feeling joy in every moment. In reality, peace is not something far away, but the ability to live gently, accepting the hardships and challenges that life brings. Buddha teaches that when we learn not to overreact to everything around us, peace will naturally come. To let go of worries, first we need to learn how to breathe. When our minds feel too tense, stop, breathe deeply, and feel each breath. When we focus on our breath, we gradually regain calmness, slowly breaking free from worrying thoughts. Remember that life always brings events we cannot avoid, but living fully in each present moment, not worrying about what hasn't yet come, is the way we find peace. Another way to let go of worries is to practice gratitude. When you focus on the good things in life, even the smallest things, you will realize that worries no longer dominate your mind. When you are grateful for what you have, you will no longer feel lacking or afraid of things you can't control. Practicing gratitude helps you realize that, in fact, you already have everything you need to live a peaceful and happy life. Buddha's teaching on letting go of worries and finding peace is truly a valuable lesson. It helps us realize that peace is not the absence of difficulties, but the ability to face them calmly and undisturbed. When we learn to let go of worries, when we live fully with what is happening, we will find that life becomes much lighter and more beautiful. Let your soul be free. Don't let worries cloud the beauty of the present moments, and then you will see that peace will come naturally. To find peace in life, sometimes we need to learn to let go. Buddha teaches that letting go is not just about giving up material things or relationships, but more importantly, it is about letting go of worries and sorrows within our hearts. In busy lives filled with challenges, it is easy to become stressed, worrying about things that haven't happened or things we cannot control. But in those moments, if we know how to stop and relax, we will feel tranquility. One of the important elements that help us find peace is acceptance. Acceptance does not mean giving up on our dreams, nor does it mean surrendering to life. Acceptance means understanding that there are things in life that cannot be changed, and resisting them only causes us more suffering. Buddha teaches that life is full of change and transformation, and if we don't learn to accept, we will forever live in worry and disappointment. Buddha teaches that we cannot control everything in life, but we can control how we react to them. The anxieties we feel are sometimes just exaggerated reactions from our minds, because in reality, very few of the things we worry about actually happen. But instead of letting ourselves sink in these thoughts, we can learn to let go and not cling to what cannot be changed. This teaching from Buddha is truly gentle and profound, as it reminds us that peace does not come from controlling everything, but from accepting that not everything is within our control. To make it easier to understand, let's hear the story of a man named Min. Min is a responsible person who always completes his work thoroughly, but he constantly carries worries about things that haven't happened yet. Every morning, he worries about his upcoming tasks, meetings, and important decisions he must make. These worries gradually became an inseparable part of Min's life, preventing him from feeling peaceful, even though he had everything he needed. One day, Min met an old friend named Duk, someone who had faced many challenges in life, but always maintained calm and peace in his soul. Min asked Duk, "How can you live so calmly? I'm always worried about everything, never feeling at peace." Duk smiled and said, "I used to be like you, but then I realized that worries don't change anything. Only when we let go of those thoughts, when we don't allow our soul to be disturbed by them, will peace truly come." Duk continued, "Buddha teaches that we can only change ourselves, and the world around us can't change because of our thoughts. When we accept everything as it is, peace will come." Duk's words were like a refreshing breeze blowing into Min's heart, making him realize that his worries were truly unnecessary. He started trying to let go of negative thoughts, stop worrying about things beyond his control. As Min learned to live fully in the present, not clinging to things that hadn't yet come, he felt his soul becoming lighter. He realized that every moment in life is an opportunity to find peace, if only we relax and don't let our minds be consumed by unnecessary thoughts. Min's story is also the story of many of us. Sometimes we create our own worries in our minds, worrying about things that haven't happened, about situations we can't predict. But if we don't let go, these worries will take over our minds, preventing us from feeling joy in every moment. In reality, peace is not something far away, but the ability to live gently, accepting the hardships and challenges that life brings. Buddha teaches that when we learn not to overreact to everything around us, peace will naturally come. To let go of worries, first, we need to learn how to breathe. When our minds feel too tense, stop, breathe deeply, and feel each breath. When we focus on our breath, we gradually regain calmness, slowly breaking free from worrying thoughts. Remember that life always brings events we cannot avoid, but living fully in each present moment, not worrying about what hasn't yet come, is the way we find peace. Another way to let go of worries is to practice gratitude. When you focus on the good things in life, even the smallest things, you will realize that worries no longer dominate your mind. When you are grateful for what you have, you will no longer feel lacking or afraid of things you can't control. Practicing gratitude helps you realize that, in fact, you already have everything you need to live a peaceful and happy life. Buddha's teaching on letting go of worries and finding peace is truly a valuable lesson. It helps us realize that peace is not the absence of difficulties, but the ability to face them calmly and undisturbed. When we learn to let go of worries, when we live fully with what is happening, we will find that life becomes much lighter and more beautiful. Let your soul be free. Don't let worries cloud the beauty of the present moments, and then you will see that peace will come naturally. To find peace in life, sometimes we need to learn to let go. Buddha teaches that letting go is not just about giving up material things or relationships, but more importantly, it is about letting go of worries and sorrows within our hearts. In busy lives filled with challenges, it is easy to become stressed, worrying about things that haven't happened or things we cannot control. But in those moments, if we know how to stop and relax, we will feel tranquility. One of the important elements that help us find peace is acceptance. Acceptance does not mean giving up on our dreams, nor does it mean surrendering to life. Acceptance means understanding that there are things in life that cannot be changed, and resisting them only causes us more suffering. Buddha teaches that life is full of change and transformation, and if we don't learn to accept, we will forever live in worry and disappointment. A friend of mine, after years of living in stress, found peace when she started accepting everything as it was. She no longer worried about pleasing everyone or fretted over trivial decisions. Instead, she slowed down, took time for herself, and found joy in quiet moments. She shared that only when she let go of the pressure did she truly feel free and happy. The peace we seek is not a destination, but a journey. Each step in life, each moment we choose to live with a gentle mind and let go of worries, brings us one step closer to inner peace. Remember that life is not a race, but a long journey to find tranquility. And the most important thing is to never let pressure control our hearts and minds. In modern life, full of busyness and pressure, we often forget that deep inside each of us, there is a source of peace, a place of calm waiting to be unlocked. Buddha teaches that to find peace in the soul, we do not always need to look outside, but just need to turn inward, take moments to relax, and let go of worries and sorrows. And one of the most powerful methods to help us do this is meditation and mindfulness. Meditation in Buddhism is a method to train the mind, allowing the soul to be pure and detached from worries and negative emotions. Meditation is not something distant or complicated. It is simply the act of stopping, putting aside thoughts, and fully focusing on the breath, on each present moment. When we meditate, we are not avoiding life, but truly living fully with each moment, fully with ourselves. In a life full of worries, we often focus too much on the future, on things that have not happened, or immerse ourselves in the past in regrets that cannot be changed. This causes our minds to remain in a state of stress, never at ease. But when we practice meditation, we learn to return to the present, the only moment we can control. Breathing steadily, each slow breath helps us calm our thoughts and give our souls the rest it needs. Buddha teaches that it is the stillness within that allows us to see more clearly, to live more truthfully. Mindfulness, or Channim, is a practice closely related to meditation, but can be applied in all situations in daily life. Mindfulness is the ability to live in the present moment without being distracted by thoughts of the past or the future. Practicing mindfulness is not limited to meditation. It can be any activity we do: eating, walking, talking, or working. When we do anything with mindfulness, we focus entirely on each action, feel the smallest details of it, and live fully with that experience. This helps reduce stress as the mind is no longer caught up in worries about what cannot be controlled. Mindfulness is one of the simplest yet most effective methods to reduce stress. When we truly focus on an action, even simple ones like drinking water, walking, or eating, we realize that we don't need to rush or worry about anything. Every moment has its own value, and when we live in that moment, we feel lighter, freer, and not caught up in unnecessary worries. A small story about mindfulness in daily life can illustrate this method. There was a woman named Lan who always felt stressed and tired because of work, family, and relationships around her. Every day, she felt as if she was racing against time, never having enough time to rest, and always feeling a lack of peace. One day, she decided to try practicing meditation and mindfulness. She started with short meditation sessions every morning and evening. Gradually, she learned to view each moment of the day more calmly. When eating, she began to truly savor the flavors of each dish, and when walking, she allowed her mind to be free, not thinking about anything other than the feeling of each step. She no longer rushed, no longer felt tired or stressed. When her soul was at peace, she realized that work was no longer a burden, but an opportunity to express herself, and her family relationships became more harmonious. Land's story is a clear example showing that practicing meditation and mindfulness can help us reduce stress and find peace in life. We cannot change what happens in life, but we can change how we react to it. By living in the present, we can find peace without worrying about things beyond our control. Buddha teaches that if we can let go of worries and live in each moment, we will find peace. Meditation and mindfulness are the keys to unlocking that door. When we practice them, we not only reduce stress, but also help heal the soul, finding true freedom and happiness. When we live a full life, not burdened by the past, not fearful of the future, every moment becomes a wonderful gift life has to offer. Life is not always easy, and sometimes we feel caught in endless worries. Thoughts about the future, about things that haven't happened yet, and challenges we don't know we'll face can easily dominate our minds, preventing us from fully living in the present moment. But could it be that when we worry too much about what's to come, we miss the small joys that life is offering us right now? Imagine you are a man sitting by a lake on a quiet afternoon. You feel the gentle breeze on your face, the rippling water reflecting the blue sky, and the distant sound of birds singing. You close your eyes, breathe deeply, and feel the peace in each breeze. But just when you think everything is wonderful, a thought suddenly crosses your mind. Will my upcoming work be successful? Will I be strong enough to face the challenges ahead? Yes, those are very real and understandable worries. But do you realize that in that moment, you missed everything that was happening around you? The peace you could enjoy in that moment was lost just because of thoughts about the future. When we live in the past, we miss the opportunity to experience the present. And when we worry too much about the future, we overlook the beautiful things the present brings. I once heard a story that might help you understand this better. It's about a man who faced daily challenges in both his work and life. He always thought about the upcoming challenges, the important decisions he had to make. He worried so much that he couldn't enjoy the peaceful moments in his everyday life. One day, while on his way home after a long workday, he encountered a woman sitting by the side of the road, smiling as she watched the children play. She didn't seem worried about the challenges ahead. She simply enjoyed the present moment, watching the children play without thinking about what was to come. The man looked at her and wondered, how can she be so peaceful? Doesn't she worry about the upcoming challenges or decisions? And as he went home, he realized that all she did was live fully in each present moment. She wasn't worried about the future, nor obsessed with things that hadn't happened yet. She knew that life can only be enjoyed if we live fully with it, instead of worrying about what we cannot control. We cannot change the past and we cannot predict the future, but we can control the present. That is an important lesson life teaches us, to live with presence in each moment, without letting worries about the future obscure the joys that are right before us. Sometimes, in the most difficult moments, when you feel pressure and worry, remember the story of the woman by the lake and the man in the story. They didn't live in thoughts about the future. They simply lived in the present. And you can do the same. You can learn to enjoy every moment of life, embrace the small things, the simple joys that the present brings. If we don't learn to live in the present, we will miss many opportunities to feel and grow. The future is always there, and worrying about it will not make it better. Instead, we should learn to let go of unnecessary worries so we can enjoy the precious moments life is giving us right now. Because in the end, life is not a race, but a journey full of beautiful moments waiting for us to explore. When facing difficulties in life, we may often feel lost, stressed, and sometimes blame ourselves. Buddhist teachings tell us that in such times, compassion and forgiveness toward ourselves will be the light that guides the way, helping us overcome the darkness of sorrow and suffering. Compassion is not only love for others, but also the ability to love, understand, and forgive ourselves, even when we're going through the toughest challenges. Developing compassion is a journey, and Buddha teaches that it begins with awareness. When we face difficulties, the first thing we need to do is realize that suffering is an inseparable part of life. Everyone has their own challenges. No one can escape sorrow, failure, or feelings of loss. But what's important is that we don't let negative emotions take over our soul. We don't let the pain become a barrier preventing our personal growth. When facing difficulties, instead of blaming ourselves, Buddha teaches that we should try to look at everything from a different perspective. Instead of thinking that we are weak or incapable, we can see this as an opportunity to learn, grow, and become stronger. In fact, it is in these tough times that we learn patience, resilience, and most importantly, how to accept ourselves with all our flaws and shortcomings. Accepting ourselves, even with mistakes and imperfections, is the first step in developing compassion toward ourselves. A small story from life can help illustrate this. There was a woman named Lan who throughout her life always had to face failures and difficulties. She had been unemployed, experienced unfulfilling relationships, and at times she felt she had completely lost faith in herself. She blamed herself for not accomplishing what she had wanted, and in dark nights, she felt truly weak and useless. One day, she happened to hear a lecture on compassion in Buddhism. The lecture said that when facing difficulties, instead of blaming ourselves, we need to see those challenges as part of our growth. We must learn to love and be tolerant with ourselves, just as Buddha teaches us to love all beings, no matter their mistakes or faults. Lan began applying these teachings in her life. Whenever she felt like a failure, she no longer blamed herself, but reminded herself that difficulties are just part of the journey, and not succeeding today does not mean failure forever. Lan started practicing self-compassion. She no longer judged herself by her failures, but learned to accept them as part of the learning process. She allowed herself to rest and relax without guilt. She also began to love herself more by taking care of her mental and physical health, spending time truly listening to what her soul needed. Gradually, she felt stronger, more confident, and especially no longer afraid when facing challenges. Developing self-compassion is an ongoing process, not something that can be achieved instantly. Buddha teaches that compassion is an innate capacity within each of us, but it needs to be nurtured and developed daily. One simple way to cultivate compassion is by reminding ourselves that we are worthy of love, especially during difficult times. Words of comfort and positive encouragement not only lighten our hearts, but also create significant changes in how we face life. Another way to cultivate compassion is through meditation. Meditation not only helps relieve stress, but also provides an opportunity to look within, to love and forgive ourselves. When meditating, we focus on the breath, listen to each inhale and exhale, and feel the peace in every moment. Through this, we come to see difficulties not as obstacles, but as valuable lessons that help us grow. Being tolerant with ourselves is also an important part of developing compassion. When we are tolerant of ourselves, we understand that no one is perfect and that we all make mistakes. Tolerance does not mean accepting failure without effort, but recognizing that in every mistake, there is a lesson to learn and an opportunity to improve. It is self-tolerance that helps us not be hindered by failures, but instead be always ready to stand up and move forward. Buddha teaches that compassion is not only loving others, but also loving ourselves. Only when we love ourselves can we share that love with others. When facing difficulties, Instead of self-criticism, we should comfort and forgive ourselves. When we accept and are tolerant of ourselves, our souls become peaceful and ready to face any challenge in life. Let compassion be the guiding light, helping us find tranquility within ourselves. In life, every day brings inevitable changes. These fluctuations, big or small, are always present around us, in every breath, in every moment of life. Buddha teaches about the impermanence of all things, an undeniable truth that everything is transient and change is the nature of life. To live peacefully, we must learn to accept this change, not resist it, but understand and let it flow as a natural part of life's current. There is a story about a woman named Lan who lived in a small village by the river. She had a happy family, a peaceful life with a loving husband and obedient children. Every day she woke early, took care of the household, tended the garden, and enjoyed moments with her family. She felt happy with what she had and thought life would always be like that, unchanged. But one day, a great storm came, blowing away the roof, destroying the garden, and washing away everything she once loved. Lan stood before the ruins, unable to believe her eyes. Everything she had built over the years was now just fragments. A feeling of helplessness and pain overwhelmed her heart. She couldn't understand why such things happened. But then, in a moment of stillness, sitting beside the ruins, a thought passed through her mind. Everything can change. That is the nature of life. She remembered Buddha's teaching on impermanence, that nothing lasts forever. Everything changes whether we want it or not. Buddha teaches that impermanence is not something to fear, but an essential part of living. Everything comes and goes, from this life to emotions, to thoughts, all have their time to arrive and depart. Therefore, we cannot cling to anything. Everything comes to us as a gift of life, and then it leaves, making way for new things. Lan sat quietly, watching the gentle waves lap against the nearby riverbank. A soft breeze passed by, easing the tension in her heart. She realized that she could not change what had already happened. The roof was gone, the garden swept away, but she still had her health and her family by her side, and those were the most important things in life. She decided to stand up and start anew. Although the pain and loss could not be erased immediately, she knew that, as Buddha taught, change is inevitable. She would not let herself sink into sorrow, but would learn to accept and keep moving forward. Acceptance is not resignation or giving up, but a deep understanding that life is always changing and everything happens for a reason. Buddha teaches us that when facing difficulties, instead of resisting, we should accept them as part of the growth process. Acceptance does not mean surrender, but is a transformation of the soul that helps us free ourselves from negative and painful feelings. Another story I once heard illustrates this acceptance of change. It tells of an old meditation master living in a small temple deep in the mountains. Every day he practiced meditation and taught his disciples. One day, a young disciple came to him, expressing sadness because life was not as he wished. He said, "Master, my life feels unfair. Everything seems against me. Why can't I have what I want?" The master smiled and led the disciple outside, pointing to an ancient poplar tree standing by a stream. "Look at that poplar tree. It has stood there for hundreds of years, enduring storms and blazing sun. But one day, a great storm came and toppled the tree. The next day, villagers saw it lying on the ground, no longer standing. But strangely, the area around it grew greener and new trees began to sprout." The master turned to the disciple and said, "Like the poplar tree, life will bring challenges and losses, but instead of worrying, fearing, or resisting, we should learn to accept. Because after storms, life renews itself and new opportunities arise. We often seek stability in unchanging things, but change is the key to growth. Every time life changes, whether positively or negatively, it brings a valuable lesson. When we learn to accept impermanence, we find peace in our souls, no longer swept away by worries or thoughts of the past or future. Life is an ever-changing journey, and the most important thing is to learn to love and cherish each present moment, accepting all the changes that life brings. Impermanence is not something to fear, but an essential part of the flow of time. reminding us that everything has a beginning and an end. What matters most is how we live each moment, not what has passed or what is yet to come. Seeking peace of mind is no simple journey because our minds are often disturbed by thoughts, emotions, and worries from many directions. Buddha teaches that the human mind is like the surface of a lake. When the wind blows, the water ripples, waves appear, and everything becomes unclear. To achieve peace, we need to learn to stop, be still, and let everything return to its pure, original state. Why is seeking peace of mind such a long journey? The answer lies in the nature of the human mind. The mind never stops thinking. We are always reflecting on the past, worrying about the future, and cannot fully live in the present moment. Buddha teaches that it is these restless thoughts and negative emotions that primarily cause us to lose peace within. Worries about the future, entanglements of the past, and unresolved feelings all stir our minds and prevent us from finding calm. The journey to find peace requires us to recognize the negative thoughts and emotions we carry inside. This awareness of what is happening in our minds is not to criticize or judge, but to understand and accept them. Buddhist teachings emphasize that when we face emotions and thoughts, we should not avoid them, but see them as strangers visiting our mind. We don't have to keep them forever. Instead, let them come and go naturally, like clouds passing across the sky. To do this, we must practice letting go. Letting go does not mean abandoning or denying, but realizing that everything is impermanent. Thoughts, emotions, and life events do not last forever. They come and go like waves, washing upon the shore and then receding. Buddha teaches that when we learn to let go, we are no longer controlled by negative emotions or worries, but instead feel lighter and freer. Letting go helps us release attachment to old thoughts and feelings and opens our hearts to embrace new, more peaceful experiences. One of the methods that helps us find peace is meditation. Meditation brings us back to the present, to each moment, allowing us to feel life in stillness. When we meditate, we don't need to do anything except focus on our breath. Each inhale and exhale is an opportunity to clear the mind, discard unnecessary thoughts, and concentrate only on what is happening right now. Meditation helps us become more aware of our mind, showing us that we are not our thoughts or emotions, but a gentle breeze, untouched by the waves. But peace does not come only from practicing meditation. Sometimes peace comes from simple moments, allowing ourselves to rest, relax, and do things we love. We live in a world full of work, responsibilities, and expectations. But if we don't know how to care for ourselves, don't know when to stop and refresh, we will never find peace. Buddha teaches that our mind is like a mirror. If it is not cleaned regularly, it will not reflect images clearly. When we take time to care for our soul and renew ourselves, we create space for peace to dwell within. The journey to find peace may be long because each of us has our own issues to face and resolve. However, Buddha teaches that every step on this path is a precious lesson. Each time we recognize anxiety within and let it go, we feel a little lighter. Each time we forgive ourselves and others, we find a bit more peace. More importantly, when we truly live in the present, we realize that peace is not a distant destination, but a state of mind we can achieve in every moment. As Buddha teaches, peace is not something we find outside, but a state of the soul, a stillness within when we are no longer swept away by life's chaos. Seeking peace is a long journey, but it is also a beautiful one, where every step helps us understand ourselves and life better. When we learn to love ourselves, let go of worries, and live in the present, that is when we find true peace. In stressful times, when everything seems to pile on our shoulders, we often feel trapped in an endless cycle. Feelings of helplessness, fatigue, and loneliness can overwhelm our souls, making it hard to see the light at the end of the tunnel. But sometimes, just a word of encouragement, a hand to hold, or a gentle conversation is enough to bring warmth and hope during hard times. This is the benefit that support from family and community brings. It not only helps us overcome challenges, but also strengthens our spirit. There is a story about a woman named Mai, who lived in a peaceful village. Mai was a single mother caring for two young children. Her work in the city was not always stable, and financial burdens, along with worries about the future, made her feel constant pressure. Long, tiring days of work were followed by nights filled with thoughts of upcoming difficulties. She felt lost, unsure what to do, and at times wanted to give up everything. One day, while sitting dazed on a chair, she received a call from her mother. Her mother inquired about her well-being and advised her not to worry too much. She said, "Mai, you can do everything on your own, but don't forget you don't have to face every challenge alone. Family is always here to help you through tough times." These words acted as an invisible encouragement, making Mai feel much lighter. She understood that no matter what, family is the place where we can find comfort, sharing, and unconditional love. Mai began to change her perspective. Instead of trying to handle everything alone, she shared more with family and friends. Whenever she felt stressed, she turned to them for conversation and advice. Sometimes just small talks that made her feel more comfortable. She realized that seeking help is not a sign of weakness, but a wise act, allowing us to find strength during difficult moments. Support from the community also plays an important role in overcoming stress. Close friends, colleagues, or like-minded people can be great sources of encouragement. In a busy and challenging life, connecting with those around us, sharing difficulties and emotions, helps us feel less alone. The community acts like a protective network where we can find understanding and safety. We are not isolated individuals, but part of a community where everyone can support each other, sharing joys as well as sorrows. Mai's story is not only a testament to the power of family and community in helping us overcome stress, but also a lesson in humility and perseverance. In tough times, sometimes we need a helping hand, a comforting word, or simply the presence of others to feel grounded and hopeful. Sharing worries does not make us weak. On the contrary, it makes us stronger because we know we are not fighting alone. The benefits of seeking help are immense. When we share our worries, we not only relieve the burdens within, but also receive valuable advice and fresh perspectives from those around us. Sometimes we can find answers to our problems through simple conversations and the sharing of others. More importantly, such support builds strong relationships, making us feel valued and never alone. As Buddha teaches, the path to peace and tranquility in life is not a journey we take alone, but one accompanied by loved ones and community. Love, sharing, and helping are not merely external acts, but also miraculous healings for the soul. Learn to open your heart and accept help when needed, for that is how we overcome difficulties and find peace within. Finally, when facing stress and anxiety, never forget that help from family and community is always available. This invaluable support helps us stand firm against life's storms and reminds us that no matter how hard life gets, we always have those who love us and are ready to walk alongside us. In busy days filled with work and life, stress is something everyone experiences. At times we feel overwhelmed, exhausted, and unsure how to handle everything. Buddhist teachings say that to reduce stress and regain peace of mind, we need not look far. Buddhist teachings can be applied directly in work and daily life to help us live peacefully and fully. One important lesson in Buddhism is awareness and mindfulness. Buddha teaches that when we live in each moment, without letting the mind be swept away by the past or worries about the future, we find peace. In work, this means focusing on the current task instead of fretting about what hasn't happened or what is past. When we work with focus and without distraction, we do not feel overwhelmed, but instead find fulfillment in every small task. Try applying mindfulness in daily activities such as drinking water, eating, or working. Instead of letting your mind whirl with hundreds of thoughts, pause for a moment, feel each breath, and be present. When you eat mindfully, without rushing or multitasking. Savor the flavors, every bite, and the sensations in your body. This is how you reconnect with yourself, ease the mind, and find peace in the small things. One cause of stress in life is the excessive expectations we place on ourselves. Buddha teaches that compassion and tolerance toward oneself are extremely important. We are not perfect, and it is our mistakes and flaws that help us grow. If you fail at something, instead of criticizing yourself, see it as an opportunity to learn and improve. Gently forgive yourself and understand that every step, whether slow or challenged, is part of the journey to growth. Stressful situations at work are sometimes unavoidable, but how we respond is what matters. Buddha teaches that while we cannot control everything happening outside, we can fully control our attitude toward it. When facing difficulties or injustice, instead of getting angry or frustrated, try taking a deep breath, calm yourself, and see the problem from another perspective. When you can maintain calm, you will more easily find solutions without being ruled by negative emotions. Another simple way to reduce stress is to apply the Buddhist practice of letting go. Letting go does not mean giving up or denying, but learning not to cling to past events or worries about the future. When we no longer hold tightly to negative thoughts or anxieties, the mind becomes lighter and we can see problems more clearly. In work, this means when you have done your best, don't let things beyond your control cause stress. Let go of worries about outcomes and focus on fully living what you are doing. To apply Buddhist teachings at work, patience is crucial. In a competitive society, we easily get caught in a never-ending race, always wanting quick results without realizing that rushing only adds stress. Buddha teaches that everything has its own time and process. When working, do so slowly and patiently, and never judge success only by the final outcome. Sometimes the journey is what matters most, and patience in every step helps us feel peace at work. Another method from Buddha's teachings is to practice compassion and love for others. At work, we sometimes face conflicts, differences, and difficulties in relationships with colleagues. Buddha teaches that in such situations, instead of getting angry or arguing, try to see others with compassion. Put yourself in their place, understand their circumstances and feelings. When we face others with empathy and tolerance, our minds become lighter and no longer tense due to conflicts. Finally, remember that every day we can create space for peace. No matter how busy work gets, take moments to pause, breathe deeply, and feel each moment. Buddha teaches that peace is not a destination but a state of mind we can find right in the present. When we learn to live with mindfulness, compassion, and tolerance, we gradually find peace in every step of life. Life sometimes feels like standing before a storm, with challenges, worries, and difficulties coming from all directions. Pressures from work, family, or even ourselves can make our minds chaotic, making it hard to find peace. However, one thing we must remember is the importance of stillness in the mind, a peaceful space within the soul that helps us stand firm and face every challenge without being swept away by waves of negative emotions. There is a story about a woman named Min who lived in a small coastal village. Min loved her work, but life wasn't always smooth. She experienced many failures at work and felt exhausted from constant difficulties. One day, while sitting in her garden, Min felt she could no longer bear it. She felt drained, as if everything was beyond her capacity. But as Min was about to give up, a fleeting image crossed her mind. The vast and immense ocean, quietly lapping the shore, even though sometimes fierce waves come crashing. The strong waves may sweep everything away, but the ocean endures, continuously caressing the sand. Min suddenly realized that among all the challenges she faced, there was one thing she needed to hold on to: the stillness in her mind. Without that stillness, she would easily be swept away by waves of negative emotions, losing direction and unable to face difficulties. She recalled Buddha's teaching: our soul is like the surface of a lake. Only when it is calm can we see the true nature of things. Similarly, in life, when we let our minds be disturbed by worry and stress, we cannot clearly see the problems we face. Only by maintaining stillness in the soul can we think clearly, find solutions, and face challenges calmly and strongly. Min decided to take some time each day to seek stillness within her mind. Every morning before starting work, she spent a few minutes meditating, breathing deeply, and relaxing her soul. Those moments were like pauses in a song, helping her regain balance and focus on the present. When facing challenges, Min no longer reacted hastily. Instead, she listened to her feelings, calmly assessed the situation, and resolved it slowly and patiently. Once, when her work faced a major difficulty, Min remembered an important lesson from those quiet moments. When facing challenges, don't rush to act. Give yourself a pause to think and feel. At that time, instead of panicking and worrying, Min stopped, took a deep breath, and found a smarter, calmer way to solve the problem. She realized that by keeping stillness in the mind, we not only maintain peace but also handle problems effectively. Another story I want to share is about a famous meditation master. He lived his whole life in a small temple on a mountain. One day, a young disciple came to him and said, "Master, I feel very stressed and anxious about life. I can't find peace in my mind. Can you help me?" The master smiled and handed the disciple a cup of water, telling him to fill it to the brim. When the disciple finished, the master asked, "Can you drink water from this cup?" The disciple replied, "No, because it's already full." The master said, "Your mind is like this full cup of water. When your mind is filled with worries, chaotic thoughts, and emotions, you cannot find peace. Let your soul become still like an empty cup, and then you will find peace within your mind." This story reminds us that to face challenges calmly and strongly, we must keep our minds in a state of stillness. Stillness is not absolute silence, but peace in the soul, the ability to master one's emotions and thoughts. When the mind is still, we can see problems clearly, not be swept away by emotions, and find more effective solutions. So, how important is stillness in the mind and life? It helps us maintain peace in our soul, see life clearly, and most importantly, face challenges firmly. When we learn to keep the mind still, we will not be carried away by waves of negative emotions, but will always remain calm, clear-headed, and decisive in every situation. Buddha teaches that suffering is an indispensable part of life, and it is one of the profound lessons we must face to find enlightenment and peace in our hearts. It is difficult to accept that suffering is part of the journey, but this very acceptance helps us overcome the challenges and hardships in life while gaining a deeper understanding of the nature of existence. According to Buddha, suffering is not something we can avoid. Everyone, whether rich or poor, happy or sorrowful, will experience sadness, loss, separation, or failure. Buddha teaches that suffering helps us recognize the impermanence of life and understand that everything changes and nothing lasts forever. When we accept suffering as inevitable, we can face it calmly and gently without being swept away by negative emotions. One important lesson in Buddhism is changing our perception of suffering. Instead of seeing suffering as something to avoid or deny, Buddha teaches that we should view suffering as part of the maturation process. Within every difficulty and pain lies a valuable lesson. When we go through suffering, we learn patience, humility, and a deeper understanding of life's nature. Buddha said, "Suffering is natural, but how we are affected by it is each person's choice." Suffering can come from many sources: the loss of loved ones, failures at work, broken relationships, or sometimes from our own negative thoughts and emotions. But rather than letting these things break us, Buddha teaches us to learn to let go and not be caught up in negative feelings. Letting go does not mean abandoning or avoiding suffering, but accepting it as part of life, while not allowing it to control all our actions and thoughts. When we let go, we feel lighter and can see things more clearly. A story about one of Buddha's disciples illustrates this. Once, the disciple came to Buddha and spoke of his hardships, unsuccessful work, family disharmony, and feeling that everything was against him. He said he could no longer endure the suffering. Buddha smiled and told him a story. There was a man walking across a vast field who suddenly tripped over a stone. If he sat there blaming the stone, he would never continue. But if he got up and kept walking, that stone would only be a small part of his long journey. Buddha explained that suffering is like that stone. If we allow our minds to get stuck on it, we cannot continue our path. But if we learn to let go and move forward, suffering will become just a small part of our life journey. Therefore, instead of trying to escape suffering, Buddha teaches that we should face it and learn to live peacefully alongside it. To do this, Buddha pointed out a highly effective method: meditation. Meditation helps us return to the present, enabling us to perceive suffering clearly without judgment or avoidance. When we meditate, we learn to observe our thoughts and feelings without letting them govern our actions. We simply watch, feel, and let them pass naturally, like clouds drifting across the sky without leaving a trace. According to Buddha, suffering is also an opportunity to cultivate compassion and love for ourselves and others. When we have experienced suffering, we understand others' pain and thus know how to share and empathize with those around us. Buddha teaches that when we can love ourselves in difficult times, we will also be capable of sincerely loving and caring for others. The important thing is that we must learn to accept that suffering is not meaningless. Each time we face suffering, we not only learn patience, but also learn to see life with gratitude. Because when we understand that suffering is natural and part of growth, we will no longer fear or run away from it. Instead, we will know how to live peacefully, even when facing challenges, because we understand that within every suffering lie precious lessons for us to learn and mature. Therefore, Buddha teaches that suffering is an indispensable part of life, but how we perceive and face it is what truly matters. If we learn to accept, let go, and learn from it, suffering is no longer a burden, but an opportunity for us to become stronger and wiser. When we live fully in each moment, without worrying about the past or future, we will find peace within ourselves. In moments of stress, when it feels like everything is piling up and you can't catch your breath, pausing for a moment, taking a deep breath, and allowing yourself to calm down can be a simple yet highly effective way to restore stability to your soul. However, in a world full of hustle and bustle, we sometimes forget that just a few conscious minutes of stopping and breathing can change an entire day, even a whole life. There is a story about a man named Nam who lived in a big city with a busy job and constant pressure. Nam always felt he didn't have enough time to get everything done. He woke up early to prepare for work, worked tirelessly all day, and when he got home, he faced worries about family life. The tension kept mounting until one day, he couldn't take it anymore. He felt exhausted and powerless, overwhelmed by despair. One late afternoon, as Nam was heading home, he passed by a small park. Feeling unable to continue in that state, he decided to sit on a stone bench in the park. Everything around him was quiet. The peaceful space made him feel as if he had entered another world. Nam closed his eyes, breathed deeply and slowly, inhaling and exhaling. He sensed the surrounding space, felt the gentle breeze, and experienced a wave of relaxation spreading from inside out. He no longer felt anxiety or pressure from work or life, only stillness and peace remained. After a few minutes, Nam opened his eyes and felt his soul had returned to calm. His fatigue lessened, and he could think more clearly about what to do next. Nam realized that during stressful times, the important thing is not to rush to solve everything, but to pause, allow himself to relax and breathe. Deep breathing helped him regain stability, find balance in his soul, and most importantly, prevented him from being swept away by the whirlpool of negative emotions. Buddha teaches that in difficult moments, instead of reacting hastily, we need to take some time to pause, feel, and gain control over ourselves. Pausing doesn't mean giving up, but allowing ourselves a moment to stop and breathe deeply so we can see problems more clearly. When we rush, we easily get carried away by emotions, causing confusion and loss of control. But when we pause and breathe deeply, we can see everything more clearly and make wiser decisions. Another story I want to share is about a meditation master who lived in a small temple for many years. One day, a visitor came to him saying, "Master, I feel very stressed and anxious because of work and life. I can't find peace in my mind, and everything seems to be beyond my endurance. Can you help me?" The master smiled and pointed to a nearby ancient tree. "Do you see this tree?" he asked. The visitor nodded. The master continued, "This tree has stood there for many years, never falling even during storms. But the tree cannot stand strong without moments of stillness to recover. You are the same. If you don't pause to breathe, rest, and heal, you won't be able to continue firmly." This story helped me understand that in life, we cannot keep running without stopping. No matter how busy work is or how chaotic life may be, we still need moments of stillness to breathe and recover. A deep breath, a brief pause during the day is a medicine that restores our energy, helps us see things clearly, and most importantly, helps us maintain peace in our soul. Stopping to breathe is not difficult, but it brings great benefits. When we pause, we not only allow our body to rest, but also help our mind regain balance. Worries and stress can cloud our clarity, but a brief pause and deep breath can help us view everything from a fresh, gentle, and peaceful perspective. When facing challenges, never forget that you can always stop, take a deep breath, and allow your soul to find stability again. Life is not always easy, but as long as you know how to pause at the right moment, how to relax, and control your breath, you will see that everything can be overcome. Most importantly, you will find peace in every step, no matter how difficult or challenging. Peace in the soul is a treasure each of us seeks, yet few realize that the key to unlocking this door is not material wealth, success, or external achievements, but love and openness toward those around us. Buddha teaches that love and sharing are the path to inner peace, not only for ourselves, but also for those we meet on life's journey. Love in Buddhism is not merely an emotion or sentiment. It is a profound understanding of the interconnectedness among all beings. Buddha teaches that all beings are closely linked, and when we can truly love others, understand them, and share with them, we are simultaneously nurturing love within our own hearts. Love is not only about helping others, but also about opening our hearts, being willing to share and accept different people with all tolerance and without judgment. When we love, we not only bring warmth to others, but also experience peace within ourselves. Buddha teaches that when we genuinely love, not only our family and friends, but also those we do not fully understand, we no longer feel lonely or isolated. Love practiced daily creates a peaceful space in our hearts. We cease to live in anxiety, fear, or a sense of lack. Instead, we feel fullness, contentment, and serenity in each moment. Loving and opening up to those around us is not only a way to show compassion, but also a powerful method of healing for ourselves. In life, we sometimes feel exhausted and stressed due to pressures from work, family, or difficult relationships. However, when we begin to open our hearts and love those around us, we also free our souls from the burdens of negativity. Buddha teaches that when we love without expectation or calculation, that love brings peace to ourselves. Because in every act of love, we not only beautify the world, but also our own souls. One of the simplest ways to find peace through love is learning to forgive. Forgiveness is not only an act towards others, but also towards ourselves. When we harbor feelings of resentment, anger, or hurt, we carry wounds in our souls that prevent us from feeling peace. Buddha teaches that forgiveness is the way to free ourselves from suffering, and when we forgive others, we also forgive ourselves. Forgiveness helps us no longer be controlled by negative emotions and instead regain tranquility within. Openness is also a crucial element in seeking peace through love. Openness is not just accepting others, but also accepting differences and imperfections in life. Buddha teaches that everyone has their own stories, experiences, and struggles. When we are open and willing to listen, we not only help others feel shared, but also expand our own hearts and souls. Sometimes, openness helps us realize that those around us are not strangers, but companions on the journey to peace and happiness. When we love and open up, we are not only recipients of peace, but also bring peace to others. Buddha teaches that when we help others, we are not only doing good deeds, but also sowing seeds of peace in our own hearts. Every time we help someone, every time we share love, we create ripples of peace spreading everywhere. This spreading peace helps us live in a world filled with love and tranquility. There is a Buddhist story that illustrates this. A monk visited a poor village where a woman was deeply sorrowful due to the loss of a loved one and suffering from a hard life. Instead of giving theoretical advice, the monk simply sat beside her, listened, and embraced her. Feeling the sincere love and openness, her soul gradually regained peace. The monk did nothing more than show genuine love, and it was that love that helped her find peace within. Love and openness are paths leading us to peace, not only in peaceful times, but also in life's challenges. Buddha teaches that when we love unconditionally and open ourselves to all, we will never feel lonely or lacking. Because love is not just what we give, but also what we receive. When our hearts are filled with love, our souls will always feel peace, and life becomes a journey of tranquility and happiness. In stressful moments, when everything seems to be overwhelming, one important thing to remember is forgiveness. Forgiveness is not just a simple act, but a liberation for our own soul. It is the gentle letting go of resentment and pain we have held too long, allowing our minds and hearts to find peace. Forgiveness, whether towards others or ourselves, is a key that helps reduce life's pressures, bringing lightness and calm to the soul. There is a story about a woman named Lan. Lan had a life full of hardship and challenges. She was a single mother caring for two young children, while her job was unstable. There were times she felt utterly exhausted, unable to endure anymore. But what hurt her most were broken relationships and the wounds she had endured. She could not forgive the one who had abandoned her and her first child. The resentment was like a shadow covering her heart, preventing her from living peacefully. Every day she woke up with a heavy feeling in her heart. She worried about the future and the challenges she would face. But the more she lived in resentment, the more tired and exhausted she felt. One afternoon, while tidying up the garden, Lan suddenly noticed a fresh flower blooming quietly amid the dry branches. She sat down, gazed at it for a few minutes, and felt the stillness it brought. That feeling of peace was like a small miracle in her life, making her realize that forgiveness was the way to free herself from all suffering. Lan began to understand that if she kept holding on to resentment, she would only hurt herself more. Forgiveness is not about forgetting what happened, but about allowing oneself to release the burdens within, to live freely and happily. She decided to forgive the person who had abandoned her, not because that person deserved it, but because she deserved peace in her heart. It was a long journey, but step by step, she felt lighter and her heart gradually opened, no longer weighed down as before. Forgiveness is not only for others, but also for oneself. We are often harsh with ourselves when facing failures or mistakes. We feel guilty, blame ourselves, and think we do not deserve happiness. But the truth is, everyone makes mistakes and experiences setbacks in life. What matters is learning to stand up, accept those mistakes, and forgive ourselves. When we forgive ourselves, we can gently move forward without carrying old burdens. Another story I want to share is about a man named Huai. He was once very successful in his work, but due to overexertion, he neglected many important things in life, especially family. When his career declined, he not only felt failure at work, but also regret for not spending enough time with his loved ones. He felt he had hurt his wife and children, so he could not forgive himself. These self-blaming thoughts caused him daily pain. One day, while walking alone in the park, he met an old friend. The friend looked at him for a while and said, "Hui, you can't change the past. You've done what you could, but don't let those regrets control your life. You need to forgive yourself to move on, because only when you forgive can you create a better future." Those words were like a light in the darkness, helping Huai realize that he could not live in the past or keep blaming himself. He needed to let go, forgive himself, and keep moving forward. When Huai began learning to forgive himself, he felt liberated. Negative thoughts gradually ceased to dominate his mind, and he found joy in simple things again. He spent time with his family and those most important to him, and his life became fuller. Forgiveness helped him find peace and continue living a new life free from the burden of regret. Forgiveness, for both oneself and others, is a journey that requires time and patience. It is a gift we can give ourselves to avoid being trapped by negative emotions and to lighten our hearts. Forgiveness is not forgetting, but freeing oneself from inner wounds, enabling us to walk more lightly and freely. When we forgive, we not only reduce pressure, but also regain peace in our hearts, allowing us to live a life full of love and happiness. Our lives are often consumed by worries about the past or future, old memories, unfulfilled plans, and fears of what may come. We chase goals, sometimes forgetting that happiness and peace are not destinations, but moments lived fully in the present. Buddhism teaches that when we truly live in the present, unburdened by the past or anxiety about the future, we will find peace in our hearts and the strength to overcome all challenges. The human mind often oscillates between thoughts of the past and anticipation of the future. The past sometimes carries pain and regrets we cannot change, while the future holds dreams and hopes that may never come true. Living in those thoughts creates stress and anxiety within our souls. Buddha teaches that the past has gone and the future has not yet come. Only the present is what we can grasp and fully live. Peace appears only when we find stillness in each moment of the present. When we stop worrying about what has passed and what is yet to come, when we accept what is happening now without judgment or attachment, we feel tranquility in our hearts. Buddhism teaches that letting go of thoughts about the past and future helps us experience peace, because worries only distance us from ourselves and from the present, the place where true peace exists. When we live in the present moment, we are no longer caught up in unnecessary worries. A story from Buddhism illustrates this well. Once, a disciple came to the Buddha and expressed that he felt stressed and tired because of his work, his past, and the uncertainties of the future. The Buddha looked at him and asked, "When you hold a full cup of water, do you feel your hand is heavy?" The disciple replied, "Yes, very heavy." The Buddha continued, "If you hold that cup for a long time, your hand will become more tired and heavier. But if you put the cup down, your hand will become light again." Suffering in the mind is the same. When you keep holding on to worries and regrets, you will feel more exhausted and burdened. Let go of them, and you will find peace. Through this story, the Buddha teaches that when we constantly carry worries about the past or the future, we are like holding a full cup of water. The longer we hold it, the more tired we become, unable to find peace. But when we learn to let go and live fully in the present moment, all worries gradually fade and our minds feel lighter. Peace in the present does not mean living carelessly or without plans for the future, but learning to accept things as they are. We do not try to change what is beyond our control, but instead focus on what we can do right now. Buddha teaches that peace is not a destination, but a state of mind that we can achieve in each present moment. Living fully in the present also teaches us to love and care for ourselves more. Instead of constantly worrying about what has not happened, we take time to listen to our bodies and minds and allow ourselves to rest when needed. Buddha teaches that when we love ourselves, we do not let ourselves be swept away by negative emotions or pointless worries. We know how to create space for peace and happiness within. Practicing presence in every moment is also a way to face challenges and suffering with greater strength. When we live fully in the present, we no longer fear the future or feel powerless over the past. Challenges no longer make us hesitate, but become opportunities to learn and grow. Buddha teaches that in every suffering, there is a precious lesson. And when we live peacefully in the present, we have the strength to face and overcome all difficulties. Peace and strength from living fully in the present are not things that come instantly. They are a process, a journey requiring patience and daily practice. Buddha teaches that mindfulness and presence in each moment are skills we can cultivate. Every time we pause to feel our breath and live with what is happening, we create space for peace and happiness. When we no longer worry about the past or future, when we fully live in each present moment, we will find strength and peace within ourselves. Buddha teaches that it is precisely in the quiet moments of the present that we realize all we need for happiness is already within our own hearts. Then we are no longer pulled by worries, but instead find freedom, peace, and strength in every step of life. Life is not always easy. Sometimes we feel tired, stressed, and as if we have no strength to continue. Pressures from work, family, society, or even our own expectations can exhaust us, leaving us feeling stuck and lost. In such moments, Buddha's teachings on peace in the heart become a source of encouragement, a light helping us regain balance. Buddha teaches that suffering and pressure are inseparable parts of life, but how we face them is what truly matters. If we allow pressure to overwhelm our minds, finding peace becomes difficult. But if we learn to pause, observe everything calmly, and not be swept away by anxious thoughts, we will realize that peace always exists within our own hearts. Peace is not something distant, but is the stillness of the mind when we fully live in the present and let go of worries about the past and future. Try pausing once in this fast-paced life and listen to yourself. Let your soul rest, release tired thoughts, and let natural peace return. Buddha teaches that when we live mindfully and are truly present in each moment, we feel peace in every breath and every step. All pressures become lighter, not burdens, but opportunities for growth and strength. We don't need to do anything complicated. Just remember, peace is a state of mind, not an external condition. When we learn to love and care for ourselves, when we forgive ourselves and others, when we live with compassion, everything becomes lighter. Difficulties no longer feel like obstacles, but opportunities to find valuable lessons, to open our hearts, and to experience deep peace. So remember, in any circumstance, peace can always return to your heart, as long as you know how to return to yourself. Don't let pressure sweep you away. Take time to be still, listen, and feel the peace in the present. Peace is not far away, it is within your heart. Believe that when you live fully in each moment, you will find peace and the strength to overcome every challenge in life. May you always find peace in each day, no matter the difficulties or challenges. Remember, peace will return to you when you allow yourself to pause and fully live in the present.